Good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Suzanne. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Betty.
Good morning.
One more and we have a quorum.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Elise.
Morning.
I'm gonna go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Good, Rosalie's coming.
Mhm.
That makes a quorum.
How many for a quorum, Fred?
5.
5.
So Rosalie will make it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yay. Hey, Rosalie.
Rosalie,
Hey.
Hey, Rosalie.
you make a quorum.
Oh,
Yay.
good.
You make a delightful quorum, Rosalie.
I've gone through life being the quorum head count.
How do I get everybody on here?
Huh?
Participants. How do I get everybody on here? I do participants. Share.
That's right. I believe it's clicking on the upper right-hand side.
Yep, and do gallery. Well, mine says gallery, but
I got it. I got it.
Cool. Rosalie, I have a text from Roseanne. Rosalie, you've gone mute again. Rosalie, you're on mute. There you are. She says, "Good morning. I am still traveling, Genoa, Italy for 4 days and taking a Mediterranean cruise. The time difference does not work to be able to Zoom the meeting. Take care, Roseanne."
Oh,
Oh,
lucky duck.
she's
oh,
had,
that sounds lovely.
they have no return ticket.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. That sounds really lovely.
Isn't that
I
cool?
do love Gloucester, but
Talk about shock till you drop. It's just,
yeah. Oh,
and
that's nice.
a lifelong thing. I may have had a small bit to do it because Dick and I had such a wonderful time there, but she'll be going to Prague, which is
Oh.
just the loveliest city, but it's not on most people's route. You have to kind of make a special effort to get there, but boy, lovely, lovely, lovely city. It was not seriously damaged in the Second War, so that it's as original as it could possibly be for that part of Europe, which otherwise got seriously bombed. So
Nice,
that's going to be the crown, she says, of the trip if they don't run out of steam. So,
nice.
cool. Okay, well, we have a quorum and others I hope will join us, but let me start the recording. Is it going? Yes. Okay. Good morning, one and all. I'd like to open this meeting of Gloucester Council on Aging. We are meeting remotely via Zoom transmission. Today is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, and it is 9:30 a.m. For recording secretary's benefit, could we start by roll call, beginning with Susan?
Susan Goodall.
Rosalie?
Rosalie Nicastro.
Betty?
Eddie Monroe.
Suzanne?
Suzanne Silvera.
Elise?
Elise Sinagra.
Good, and Fred Count.
Oh, and Val's joining us, Fred.
Good. Good morning, Val.
Hey, Val.
You connected? Can you hear us? Val?
It doesn't look it. Val, can you hear us? Oh, now you're muted.
You're on mute, Val. Ah, technical expert here.
Expert, it's Key West t-shirt. That's the best kind.
Ah, yeah, 1 minute. But if all else fails, pull the plug.
Yeah, restart.
I finally gave up and had things that benefit that by having the plug switched. So, so it's just easy. You just go flick a switch on the wall.
Nice.
The TV will redo itself.
Fred,
Yes,
I just got a call from Jack Wandrus.
good.
And I told him that we had a Zoom meeting and he said to say hello to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he had a major heart attack in January.
Ooh,
So he's coming
what
back.
that's what killed his father.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's coming back slow, real slow.
Wow. How
But
depressing.
we talked for about an hour and some things he doesn't remember, but he's doing well and he wanted to say hello to you.
Well, that's sweet. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I will send him a note. I'll send him a note. He was the city's public health director for a
No.
term. Prior to that, in my earliest days was AIDS Action Committee. He was a mover and shaker to insist that we have working relationships with the city of Boston. And we were perfectly content to work around the administration because basically the State House had been so uncooperative, only to find that Jack was one of the principal people that got Larry Kessler, our executive director, he got the city of Boston to pay his salary, which changed our fundraising approach. People couldn't say we were only in it for the money. Jack was a very effective spokesperson way back when. So
Yeah.
I have a soft spot in my heart for him.
He was a
And
good
he's-
guy.
He's still on the board of the Gloucester Health Center.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Okay. Let's see. First, the second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of July the 12th, 2022. Are there any additions, subtractions, or changes? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of July the 12th, 2022 as written?
Motion.
Thank you, Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Susan. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call, Susan?
For,
Rosalie?
Aye.
Betty?
yes.
Suzanne?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, so that the ayes have it and the minutes are approved. Update on board members' activities. Susan, what's on your mind?
Haven't done much. That's not on the agenda, so.
Suzanne?
I've been in touch with Elise about having some of our schooner folk come down to the senior center
Good.
to do maybe like a short lecture and talk about Schooner Festival.
Cool.
And I drafted, as you know, that letter to the editor,
Sure
which
did.
I'll send out to them this week.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was a good text. And it was just different enough, so that I don't think they'll claim that they've already published it.
Right.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Betty, what's on your mind?
Yes, so we can talk about it later. I have met with or spoken with Kate Cunningham, the new nurse, public health department, and
Good.
we're looking forward to setting up something in September, little health fair. So
Good,
more to come on that.
good, great. Rosalie, what's on your mind?
So I just wanted to remind Elise to delete Max's name from the newsletter.
Thank you, Rosalie.
And I believe they did hire a new director.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've actually made the announcement,
They have.
but
Good, that's good progress move. Val, you were on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, yay.
Awesome.
Val Gilman.
I have nothing to add, except I'm glad to be in the call, and I do have to leave at 11:15, just to let you know.
Sweet, thank you. Elise, anything that you want to speak about that's not on the agenda?
I'm just making a note on my newsletter reminders for September to delete Max's name. Anything that's not on the agenda. No, just that, we have a very high needs, senior right now who's, been coming in the building, as he's able to conform with the standard, with our code of conduct, which is not all the time.
Yep.
But when he can't, and I asked him to sit outside of the bench, we've been trying to do what we can for him. And that's been taking up some time, but I can't tell you all how many times in the past couple, maybe 10 days since I've met this particular high needs individual, how many times I've just really thought to myself there, but for the grace of God, go I. So yeah, I'm working with Lieutenant DeCastro.
Good.
And he's awesome, Rosalie. Your boy is a great guy. Working with Jeremiah and some other.
You see how this, Rosalie, you see how this all works together?
Yeah, I know.
It's just wonderful. It's really just marvelous.
Yeah. So we kind of have that. We have that going on. It just reminds me sometimes of I laugh sometimes at the whiplash that I experience with my job duties, with really doing the okay, I'm a social worker, dig deep on that social work training to try to help this individual to whatever degree I can. And then 2 seconds later, I'm talking to someone who might provide music for the cookout at the park, and it just I get whiplash sometimes from it. But it's a good balance. It's good to balance out the really heavy stuff with hey, I need music for the cookout. So that's what's on my mind.
Well,
Elise,
ahead.
Elise, is that a homeless person or one of our
Yes.
seniors?
It's a homeless individual. Yeah.
well, it just goes to show, I will say, I'll leave that, at least you're exactly the right hire.
Thanks. I
And
hope so.
and I
for everyone.
appreciate that. I also want to commend you all, if you haven't had a chance yet, to read the latest Coastline News. Elise's her readings is so terrific. It's just wonderful. I know I
apologize.
read it.
We're all singing that song now.
Sent it to me to proofread, but enough time from my proofreading to opening the package in the mail and reading it had passed, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to be getting into. It's just wonderful. I mean, it gets better and better and better. You're developing an independent reputation for writing these things. Dick flipped. You know, he starts to laugh in the other room. So anyway, yay for you. And if you haven't read it, read it, because you should be proud of her for doing stuff like that. It's really
Good. Good. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Program developments, anything happening in either Magnolia or Lanesville?
No, nothing. In fact, I wondered if it might make sense to table that until we
Okay.
get, you know what I mean? There's so much that needs to happen before we're going to be there, Fred, that it might make sense to table that.
Without objection, I will table that. Is that all right by everybody? Okay, hold on. Okay, old business, internet communication, Susan.
I'm working on the frequently asked questions. And I ran into an issue when I started to go and meet with, set up a meeting with Junie on the code of conduct, you know, and I realized that I don't know where we're going to put it. You know, we could put it by the front door, by the doors, so people see it when they come in. We could put it by the sign in, you know, before we decide, you know, get Junie involved. I think we have to decide where we're going to put it, because that's going to dictate a lot of things, like the size for one thing.
Right.
And so I need to get Elise's thoughts on that, and we can do that offline or whatever, but
Yes, please.
yeah, because I don't, you know, it could be really small or it could be really big. It all depends on, you know, where we're going to post it.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder what the board feels about, I was thinking of maybe adding it to like there's an application that people fill out to become a member. And then they, you know, and they sign that. So I wondered if maybe on the flip side of that one sheet that gathers just the basic data we need to get them in our database and make them a member, if it might make sense to, at that point, just have it on a piece of paper too, to just set that expectation immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then
that would be
also have
good.
it hanging up on the
Yeah.
wall somewhere as well.
Terrific.
Do you have a sense of where the sign should be posted?
maybe like in the, somewhere right near both doors. I mean, I think, to see it immediately would be good without having it be like, overwhelming, but Susan, if you want to come in, do you want to come in and scope out a couple spots, or do you want me to just kind of look around with the, with the paid staff and see what everyone here thinks and report back to you, or?
Why don't you do that? I'd hate to take up your time, but if you'd like me there for my input, I'm more than happy to do it.
Let's see what the staff thinks, and then I'll talk to you, and then maybe you can come down and look at the spots that we think, and then we'll see if you concur.
Perhaps
Sounds
first,
like
if
a
you
good
could-
plan.
Perhaps first, if you could decide on the dimensions of the sign, she could then at least feed that back to Junie, so she begin to think simultaneously for design.
Okay, so I'll get you
I have-
dimensions, yeah.
Fred,
Rosalie, yes.
what's behind the wall where where you check in? What's behind that wall where you have the desk to check in?
The stairs.
No, there's a blank wall behind, there's a wall, the lady's sitting there and you have where the lady is sitting. What's on that wall?
There's the
The
electronic,
TV. There's a TV up there that sometimes has like a PowerPoint presentation revolving through. You mean directly behind the receptionist?
Directly, yes, thank you. What's
Yeah.
directly behind the receptionist? If it was right there, that's
Yeah.
visible because everybody goes to the desk to
They
buy
don't- that's-
bags, to have questions, to sign up. So if
Yeah.
it's there and it's directly behind the receptionist, you can't miss it.
Right. So I suspect we should put it a couple different places, because sometimes people don't go to the desk, and that's one of my challenges, the people that come in the back door and who use the place so frequently that they feel so at home that they just go right into the dining hall for bingo or whatever. And I'm always begging them to get to the front desk and scan in, and I try to reiterate
in.
how important that is, but sometimes they still don't go. But either way, we'll look at a couple different spots, and I'll look at that as one of them, Rosalie, and see
Cool.
what we can do back there too. We might needed a couple different sizes to go a couple different places, but
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll.
and I like
discuss that.
Yeah, and on something that's a takeaway as well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Barry's not here, so again, I will carry forward the model programs for the seniors with Friendship Works in St. Andrews House. I'm wondering, Susan, if you might consider putting in a reference to needy meds.
Yes. Barry said that, when he responded to your email, one of the things he said was that he thought we ought to add needy meds, and
Great.
I totally agree with him.
Great. They've
I
just done
think
a new section called something like Time for Passing On, which is the most comprehensive dialogue, really. In its tone, it's a dialogue. It's not preachy. It's gentle but clear. The voice, what I refer to as the voice of the prose, is extraordinarily appropriate for this particular subject matter. It's very helpful, but it is everything that is involved in simply acknowledging the passage of time and ultimately someone's death, either one's own or a family member or a loved one. And at the moment, one section that isn't covered yet is the insurance component, but they're working hard on that. But otherwise, it is just amazing how comprehensive it is, and it's only one section of many things that Needy Meds has offered. We are also really beginning to ramp up an arrangement for defraying the medical costs of pets, which from my work on the Board of Health and from a lot of anecdotal evidence, we know that people will cut their medications in order to defray a vet bill for a cat and justify it clearly in their heads as being intelligent moving forward, that the cat is as vital to their survival as they are. We're now developing a mechanism using the same drug discount card to be able to defray those costs, and in many cases go for grant money in order to be able to defray costs down to zero for people who are income eligible. So it's becoming more and more a vehicle for focused vehicle on low-income seniors. And I'm proud to be part of that organization. As you may know, I chair that board, and it's one of the most useful things I do. We have some terrific people on that board as well, drawing from across the country. So even with Rich Sagel's departure to Washington State, it's a Gloucester business on Whittemore Street, and we really should be proud of it. They do some remarkable work. Okay,
Awesome. Thank
that's
you,
my
Fred.
needy elevator speech.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
Let's see, update on anything new with the virtual senior center on Channel 67.
No, just plugging along. Jennifer Lee has had some health concerns lately, so she's been down. Trying to remember when, I think I had to miss the last meeting, so it's a little bit so I'm a little bit out of touch with it, but I'll be making the next meeting, and yeah, no, we're trying to plan what we're gonna do for, for like September, October. Maybe if we can get something to happen with for the Schooner Festival, and maybe if that could be on tape too, that might make its way onto some kind of virtual senior center programming.
Yeah,
But right now we're running a presentation that I believe we're running a presentation that Jennifer Lee filmed at the Rockport Council on Aging. That was a very well reputed elder law attorney that did a presentation about, estate planning and kind of 5 wishes and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's been running. I think we're trying to get something a little more after that, to follow that up with something light, maybe a little more
yes.
entertaining, but so that's about it. Nothing earth shattering going on with that.
Okay, well, no, it's there.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
resource for which I thank you. Let's see, anything further before we move on? Okay, update on Rosie's Cafe.
Rosie's Cafe is still moving along. We are still hanging in there with about, Thursday is our biggest day. Friday close is behind it. We're still, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we do about a dozen probably serve about a dozen seniors. And then on Thursday and Friday, that shoots up to 40 to 50. So I think that really speaks to the difference in the food that we offer. Friday can be a bit of a rush, just because we're trying to get people served, and then the folks from bingo start coming in. So yeah, so that can just be a little bit of a rush, but
Let me ask a heretical question. Would bingo consider starting a half hour later?
no, oh no, Fred. They already have to run. A lot of them have to skip playing their last card to run for the last cater bus. So that's already an issue. So I don't think starting it a half an hour later would fly with a lot of people. So
Even now, if cater bus were to delay by half an hour, would that soften the request?
maybe if Cater could adjust their schedule, or if we can get the van going, which is still kind of in talks of a way that we might throw together a part-time schedule for the use of the van. So
Okay.
that was one of the things that I had on the schedule that I suggested, was that on Wednesday and Friday, that the van do one last run out of here to take bingo people home.
Yes.
So it could be something in the future that could happen.
Let's bundle that together, because I do not want people rushed for lunch on Friday.
No, I know, and
Our meals program is not an also ran. It is,
right.
it's a really
Flagship,
significant.
yeah. And so, I mean, yeah, and it works out still. It just can feel a little bit frenetic down there. Is that the right word? Frenzied or whatever, but it's working right now. On the Fridays that we do the mobile market, and we have the mobile market and lunch and then bingo, some things need to change about that. But I'm chewing on that, and I'll talk to you, Rosalie, some more about that too, after I get some more feedback from the staff about how we can manage that particular Friday a little bit better. Yeah, Rosalie. Oh, sorry.
From what I
Fred's
see
supposed to
on
call him.
Fridays,
Sorry.
from what I see on Fridays down there, they love to get there early for bingo. They get their seat and they love to socialize. It's a social hour before bingo. So I think even if you change it to 1:30 or up the time, you're still gonna have those people there, because that's their social time. They all bond, they talk, and they just love it. They love Fridays. They spend the whole day there.
Okay, then let's not tinker with that. Maybe we might start lunch a half hour earlier.
Maybe I could talk to Open Door, even if they started 15 minutes earlier, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Maybe that's the end to extend, and not at the ending, but move the beginning up.
Okay, I'll look into that, Fred.
Thank you. Okay. One thing, that's not on the agenda that I should have remembered, and that is we have a new member. The mayor has appointed Steve Aiello, former second in command, I believe, in the fire department. And his nomination will be before O&A soon, and hopefully approved by the full city council. So in the meantime, I believe the mayor has given him a 90-day appointment. And he's been asked to go to City Hall to be sworn in and whatnot so that he can attend meetings. So, and that is in replacement of, if anyone could possibly replace Felicia.
I know.
So, I still am not dropping the idea of having a representative of CADA attend our meetings as Mike Hale and W and whatnot. I know CADA is not part of the city administration, but they're certainly a vital player to the operation of senior center. And I'd like to have someone as connected as Felicia. And I don't know quite who to ask for that, but I'm going to. Perhaps the mayor might make a suggestion that
I
regard.
couldn't agree more, Fred, and
Yeah.
maybe her replacement, you know.
Yeah, but Steve Aiello is in fact and will be a member of this board, and I'm delighted. Yes, Val, please.
It would be really easy for me to amend the ordinance and put it through for consideration if you wanted me to add a member of CADA. So if you wanted me to do that, it will take probably a month and a half, start to finish, but at least we can get it in the queue for consideration.
Thank you, Val. Wow, without objection, marvelous. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cool. What do we mean? Let's see. What was there was a senior care, the Roots barbecue chicken. What was that?
So yeah, it's just, we see once a month, we're doing these lunches that it's through Senior Care. They're collaborating with an organization called Root out of Salem, which trains young people for food service industry careers. And so every now and then we get like a special luncheon. So it's nice because on one of the Senior Care days, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday days, then we're doing up around 50 on that day too. We're serving 50 seniors on the Root days because they know that the food's a little bit better. So they've been doing things. The last one was a barbecued chicken. They did a grilled shrimp salad, or it's like a salad niçoise with grilled shrimp, and they yeah, they do stuff that's just a little bit nicer. So yeah, those have been enjoyable. The next one coming up in August is going to be a mixed grill with like turkey tips and
Yeah.
you know, pork tips or
And
whatever.
Senior Care does the publicity on this.
Senior Care, yeah, Senior Care does I publicize it too. I didn't get the August one in the newsletter, unfortunately, but we publicize it around here and I can send it out in an email blast. So yeah, they do the signups through their congregate site manager here.
When Jennifer Lee is feeling better, that might be something that she could film one of those episodes as being a collaborative effort in Rosie's Cafe.
Absolutely, that's a great idea, Fred.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything more on the subject before I move on? Okay. Let's see. Senior Care's cookout coming up, huh?
Yes.
It's the 18th of August. Anything more we need to know about that than standard?
So I have the donations account now that I do have some ability to kind of control how that money is spent. There's a part of me that was kind of toying around with buying just a couple of easy up, awnings. We have it where we've had that cookout every single year. There's a decent amount of shade from the trees, Rosalie, because you're always there. There's a decent amount of shade from the trees, but not shade enough for everybody. And you do end up with some seniors that are sitting there in the blazing sun. I mean, it's good we're right by the ocean, so that mitigates it. But I thought, I don't know, I looked into renting a tent, and the expense of it just seemed like if we just bought one, it's like a $2,000 expense. But then we'd always have like a nice big, I think it was like 20 by 40. It would be plenty of room to put everybody under that awning. It would just be a matter of asking DPW though, if that's something that they can work into their workload, would be setting that thing up and taking it down at least once a year for the cookout. But maybe for additional things, if we had the awning, maybe we could do more things in the park. But that would require that DPW component, and I don't know if they want to if they're in the business of awning, putting it up and putting it down. So
I will include that subject in next meeting with Michael Head.
That would be great. And in the meantime, I think just because the 18th is going to be here like tomorrow,
Yeah.
I have an easy up that I can bring. I might just, buy another one from Amazon. Those are relatively inexpensive. If anybody else has a little easy up, if we could get several of those canopies up just to supplement the shade that we do get from the trees. It's worked every other year without any additional shade, but I have had seniors comment on it. That boy, it would be nice if more
Yeah.
people could get out of that broiling sun.
Yeah, and you use Stage Fork Park more than most people as a regular venue. If you need a storage container for furniture and stuff, I could arrange for that again.
Thanks, Fred. Yeah, I don't
Yes, Val.
think I need to take you up on that, but thank you.
Yes, Val.
So Counselor Frank Maggiota, Ward 3 City Councilor, put in a request to the mayor for some type of a canopy for children and their parents at Stage 4 Park. So, we don't know if we have the funding for that, but it did come in as a request only about a month ago. He's got like an infant and a 3 and a 5-year-old, and he's always up at Stage 4 Park. And he said that it gets pretty offensive. So, in terms of the heat. So I'm wondering if maybe I could put in a request that just kind of adds that as a possibility, because if we could have something that we could share up there, it would be kind of nice. I don't know how close the seniors are to the play area. That's the challenging issue. But maybe it could be moved. If there was a portable one that could be moved for an event that the seniors are having. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, thinking that the city might be willing to spend money if it was 2 different groups, little babies and infants, and then all of us who are seniors.
If we had the canopy, Val, it might make sense to do it in a different spot. I think a lot of the driver of where it's been done traditionally is because there's some trees there that offer shade. So, but they are all portable. It's just a matter of how much work to like break it down and set it back up again. You know what I mean? So there's that. Maybe we could change the location of where we do the cookout, or maybe again, if DPW is okay with it, maybe they'd be willing to break it down from where it kind of lives most of the summer to down where we do the cookout just on that day or something like that.
So might I suggest that this board makes a recommendation to see if the city has funding for a canopy for Stage 4 Park for the seniors?
Who would I address that inquiry to?
It would be to the mayor's office, to Jill Cahill and Mayor Verga.
Fun.
You could add to that you've heard from Council on Aging ex officio member that it's being considered for infants and children at Stage 4 Park, and maybe this could be something that could be used for both.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Right, and we do have some. I mean, the donations account is something that could, that could fund at least part of that too, if that matters.
Wonderful. Progress. Let's see. Anything else on the subject before I move on? Okay.
Just if I could just reiterate one last time, I don't think that the big like 20 by 40 that maybe we'll get going forward long term, that's going to happen by the 18th. So if anybody does have just any of the 10 by 10 easy ups that go up pretty easy, I've got one of those. If anybody else has one that they wouldn't mind letting us borrow for the 18th, that would be helpful.
Cool. Yes, Rosalie.
I'm not sure when Roseanne is coming home. I think she'll be home for that, and we'll both be down there helping. I'll be down there either way. Roseanne does have a couple of those tent things. So
okay.
When I talk to her, I'll ask her and I'll let you know, Elise.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, let's see. Non-emergency medical rides program, Elise, and the working group.
That's moving along. I had a meeting with the mayor's office with the mayor and John Dunn last week. And the memo that I submitted didn't need to be changed at all to be the memo that will kick off the process of that request being included in the next mayor's report. So there's going to be a little bit of a timeline associated with it. And because of that timeline, the bills that are currently coming in for that program from Caring Choice Transportation are going to need to be paid from the donations account. But I keep looking at what we've got in there, and we're okay. So we still have a few invoices to pay, but we're getting there. It's going to be in the next mayor's report. So it'll be showing up in front of the city council and then, referred out to BNF. So the request is there to fund that program, and what they're going to do actually is they're going to request that they fund a transportation line item for our COA budget. That way, if the CADA grant comes through, then we still have that money is still in there and it's more broadly defined instead of being more narrow in scope and saying we'd want it for the non-emergency medical rides program. John Dunn suggested that we have it as a transportation COA money. That way, if we don't end up needing it for the non-emergency medical rides, we could then maybe use some of that money to do some van stuff.
Yeah, like going to the Annisquam Village Players.
Like doing that. So, so that's, I'm very excited that that's moving along and that's going to be in the mayor's report, the next one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Anything on the subject before I move on? The Wise Middle Street Housing Project. I was pleased to find in Gloucester Times that on Thursday, August the 11th, there's going to be a meeting at the YMCA in Gloucester, where why can't I think of the name of that shopping area? Specifically to discuss the affordable housing development at 71 Middle Street. So that'll give me an opportunity to attend, and if offered to speak on the subject, and I'll bring architectural plans pre and post the changes there to at least inform them of our concerns about the downsizing of the door that the architect initially called for. It's their decision to make, it's their building and they're paying for it. So, but to at least draw it to their attention, which I don't think has happened, at least people who are in a position to actually make a decision. So there's a meeting that is tailor-made for having them address any concerns that anyone might have. And perhaps there will be other people in the audience who will show some interest. Yes, Val?
Could this board make a recommendation to, from a board standpoint, and take a vote that we would like to make this as a recommendation from the Council on Aging board to the builders and just kind of state what we're looking for in a motion, and that way it shows the solidarity of our entire board.
Thank you. We have done that.
Okay.
Yeah, we got early on, I brought it as a subject to the board. Is this something that we wanted to be involved in? And the decision was yes, to enough to make a motion. I can go back in minutes and find it for you.
Great. Perfect.
No, we have
Thank
that
you.
in place. Yes, Elise.
Fred, so I will put that meeting on my calendar too. I mean, I imagine
I hope
a
you'll
couple
come with
voices
me, yes.
there would be better than one. And I wonder, would it be helpful to draw up a memo stating that on such and such a date, just referring to the minutes, the Council on Aging board voted on this and
Yes.
kind of just so we have it in writing to submit that to them too?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will help you with that. So, yeah, exactly. This progress.
Okay.
Boy, this meeting is all progress at the moment.
Yep.
We're on a roll, guys.
Yay.
Okay, let's see. The up next, please, is the Annisquam Village Players Senior Complimentary Preview, August the 8th, which is 6 days away. Anything further on transportation that we need to discuss or to clarify? Is that all a go?
That I need to check in with, Michael's been tracking how many people have requested transportation.
Yep.
We've had a few requests from Rockport folks, and I've had to tell them that really whenever we have things that have a very limited capacity, that we have to prioritize our Gloucester members.
Yes.
So I've broken that bad news to a few people, but I have to check with Michael and see what our number is so that I know how, just where we're at with that. Like, are we at overflow already? How are we going to handle overflow? So I apologize. I had yesterday off, you guys, and it's been a short time span since our last meeting, but I'll be reporting back next month on how we made it all work. So we'll find a
Elise,
way.
could you let me know by Friday of this week in terms of how many tickets, what
Yep.
time the vans are going to get there?
Yep.
And then I will check with Diane Bertolino from Rockport. They had 35 tickets. And I do know that Rosalie had sent a message to Diane Bertolino telling her how many of the folks on the bus were Rockport and requested that those tickets be saved at Rockport because we didn't want to take that from the supply at Rose Baker.
Right, because Seniors on the Go is both, right, so I will have to look at that, because yeah, we will have to look at that, Val, because Seniors on the Go is
Okay.
both.
Okay, but if you can get that by Friday, that's great, because I'm going to be there, well, helping welcome and making sure that there are enough people there to help them get up to their seats if they're on walkers or whatever, in terms of how they need
Yeah,
accommodation.
I'm gonna get that
Okay.
nailed down before Friday, Val, just so I know, and just because I did promise people that if we can't provide transportation from them, that I'd let them know far enough in advance that they could try to make some arrangements on their own, but, so I'm gonna be turning my attention to that as soon as we're out of this meeting, so.
Rosalie,
So I did get 7 tickets from Elise and 7 tickets from Diane. I do have a bus full. People are excited. 7 from Rockport, 7 from Gloucester. My
Okay,
bus will be starting pickups at 6 o'clock because we're going to Rockport. And we pick them up right at their house, so it does take time. So
okay,
I'm thinking we should be at the Annisquam Village by 7. Is that okay, Val?
Yeah, and it really shouldn't be any earlier than that because, but we're flexible. You know that all the actors and actresses are practicing their warm-ups, but if it's a hot night, we'll let the seniors go to their seats and they'll just watch the actors and the actresses practicing the warm-ups with the pianist before. That's part of the spirit of dress rehearsals. So we'll make it work. I'm just going to pass out small water bottles. No, I don't want to pass out large ones because it's people are going to have to go to the bathroom and that can be complicated. And maybe just one like pre-wrapped cookies or something, Rosalie.
That's good,
So yeah.
like you always do. And there's no elevator there. We have to use the stairs, correct?
Well, there's an access through the back barn, which is quite, it's a long route, but you can get access in for a wheelchair from the back barn. It's accessible. It's not easy, but if somebody needs that, we can do that. So it's just the other side of the village hall. And I'll try to get some of the younger kids that are there, like, high teens in the cast to help get them in.
we should share.
And I will be there as well. I'll have some other volunteers helping me. So we'll be ready to greet them and bring them in and make sure they're safe at 7. And do remind them about the masks. We will
We
have
have
some available if they need them.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, they have to be masked throughout the performance is the thing, yeah, okay.
Yep. All right, wonderful.
Thank you, Val.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah,
I love
thank
it.
you.
We're looking forward to it. It's a special night. It's a nice tradition. So
Really, thank you.
Anything more on the subject before I move on? Cool. Betty, you can talk about the planning for the health fair.
Yes, so I've actually spoken with Kate, who's the new public health nurse. She's lovely. She's very energetic, enthusiastic, so that's good.
You are.
And I've also talked with Julie a number of times to see what date might work. Rosalie, I know you've been away. I've kind of been doing some things here.
Yeah,
But I think what we need to do at this point, we've come up with a tentative date of Friday, September 16th.
that's good.
And the time, again, we've talked about time constraints between getting lunch out and getting everybody ready for bingo. So we could do maybe 10:45 to 11:30. And it's really just to give information about the importance of the vaccines, be it flu, another COVID update, how to stay healthy. I know that Carol from PACE was interested in being there as well to give some information that might be necessary if someone's looking for long-term care down the road. I don't know if Julie's talked with you directly, Elise,
Well,
to,
scheduling things kind of should go through me, Betty. That's not a Julie thing, that's a me thing. So any
Yeah.
conversations about things getting scheduled here should really start with me,
yeah,
ideally. So yeah, I did see your email. Friday is not ideal.
Okay,
And we did just do a health fair. So,
Yep.
so yeah, yours seems different in scope though. So I think that it kind of, you know what I mean? I don't think that you're trying to do the exact same thing. It sounds to me like what you're
Correct.
trying to do is different, more pinpointed, which I like. I think it's great. And I think the fall timing is really good, but I'm trying to think of, given some of the constraints that I've talked about Fridays being kind of
Yes.
crazy, was the thought process that you want crazy because then you get more people and
well, that was,
or-
that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there weren't as many people there, but would this be something that would draw more people in?
I don't know if offering information is a big draw. I wish it were.
Okay.
That would be nice, but I think that if the aim is to get the useful information into as many hands as possible, then there is some logic behind doing it at a time that's already kind of a little bit crazy. I don't know if I'd want, not crazy, but a little bit busy. I don't know if as busy as Friday could be is ideal. Maybe Wednesday's a happy medium because Wednesday
Okay.
gets the bingo crowd in,
Okay.
but it's not quite as busy. But I will talk to Julie about it to see if she had thought that through and maybe thought of a solution or to making
For me,
it work on a Friday.
It seemed as though Fridays, because I've been there the days that, I've been there serving meals
Yeah.
and helping out there. And when the mobile market comes in, and it does seem like there's a lot going on.
Right. It's a lot. Yeah. If we
And
could
I
spread
know
it out a
that,
little more.
we're trying to get as much bang for our buck with the number of people that come in. Kate's very flexible. I'm very
Awesome.
flexible. So it's a matter of what we're going to present. And again, it's just information. We won't probably know when flu vaccines are available.
That was going to be
even
my
at
next
that
question.
point.
Can you fold in a mini flu clinic?
The flu vaccines probably won't be available in September.
Right.
And again, we never know when they're going to say the flu vaccines are ready.
Yeah.
So that's kind of up in the air. Usually it's the end of September into October.
Yeah. But as a draw, and also I'm wondering if it's on a Wednesday, could we also have some extra slots available for people who happen to be there at the right time to stay for lunch?
Yeah, maybe I could check out which Wednesday Route's going to be in on
That's what I mean.
September.
Yeah.
Maybe we could
Okay.
do it on the Route Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it had to be off towards the end of September, beginning of October, but what we gain is that you could also give out more information about when the vaccine will be available, when the flu.
Correct.
That might make some sense.
Exactly.
So I'll get back to your email on that, Betty, once I have a chance to kind of.
I know you've had a lot on your plate.
Yeah, but Betty, this is first-rate stuff you're doing. This is
I know,
good.
this is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It really
Okay.
is great to get that information, especially if we have the ability to wait a couple more weeks and be a little bit more specific about, here's when you can expect the flu vaccine. But I'll get back to you. Like I said, we'll continue that conversation via email. I'll loop in Julie just to kind of
Cool.
see what her thinking on it was.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Terrific.
Thanks, Betty.
Rosalie.
Betty, so this will be one table with you and Kate and Carol sitting at the table, just giving out information, correct?
No, I think it's going to be more of Kate really doing a presentation. That's how I presented it to her. Is there
Okay.
something that we can stand up and talk about for, 20 minutes, a half an hour, just what we need to do to keep you healthy over the winter months?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. All
I-
right, that's fine.
I think too, if we're
That
gonna,
changes the model. That's good.
I don't know if this is one that we might have to politely decline Carol's participation, only because, and I love Pace, I love Element Care, I love Carol.
Yeah.
If we say this is Gloucester Health Department talking to you about these things, that's two Gloucester entities, the Council on Aging and the Health Department, talking to you about these important things. Once we open it up to one outside entity, then you get a bunch of other entities that could go, well, why couldn't I have an informational table too?
Right.
I missed the one in July. Why can't I get it? So this one might be good if we just limit it in scope to city entities offering information.
And I
then-
think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I can break that to Carol. I'm gonna break
Right,
it
but-
forward, Carol.
Elise, might we offer access to the electronic whiteboard in the lobby, information about PACE?
We can, once we get the electronic whiteboard in the lobby working, but is
Yeah.
that an agenda item? So that's a whole nother
Yes.
thing, but yeah, but we offer Carol lots of opportunities to talk to
Yeah.
seniors here
Yeah,
about.
but I mean,
lots
just
of them.
that's a new source for dissemination of information, and as a consolation,
Yeah,
we might give her on the day priority for running of a loop.
that's
on
a
the-
good
on
idea. Yeah,
whiteboard.
yeah, I'll look into that, Fred.
Rosalie,
So Betty, you'll be having another meeting with Kate about this, right?
Yes, yes,
'Cause I
and I
talked
will,
with her.
I'll let you know when that is,
Yeah,
so that you can be part of what's going on.
yeah. I talked with her and she was kind of confused, so I told her that I would ask questions and let her know. I
Okay,
told her that we should have information about the pneumococcal, about the shingles,
yeah,
about COVID, be a very informational table, because
Yes.
people have
Awesome.
questions. Shingles is coming up again. And because of COVID, we've forgotten about all these other things, but they're
yes,
important.
Yeah,
So I
Yes.
think it's a great idea.
it's a meaty topic. It really is, Betty. I think
Yes.
it's a meaty standalone topic
Yeah,
without
sure.
worrying about like other outside entities too. I think it's
so
great.
Rosalie, what we need to do is sit down with Kate at
Yeah.
some point in the next couple of weeks and see what information is out there, what we can get for handouts, for information to share with the
Yeah.
seniors, and put that all out there.
yeah. We also need,
Betty, would you come to the health department if I talk with Kate and we'll have a meeting at the health department?
Yes, that would be
All right,
perfect.
I'll talk with Kate and I'll get back to you and we'll see. I'll give you a couple dates.
Love
Okay,
it.
great.
Excellent.
okay,
Thank you.
terrific.
Rosalie, when you are setting this up with Kate, would you also ask her for an accounting of the vaccine account to see what resources you have in order to be able to supplement anything that comes to us for freebies?
Would-
Needy Meds has a drug discount card that's in the name of the city, and a percentage of Needy Meds' commission, which is upwards like $5 or something, but a percentage of that goes to the city of Gloucester and is channeled into a vaccine fund that is overseen by the public health nurse.
Okay,
It's her discretionary fund. And
Okay.
it could amount to several $1,000s.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those benefits. It's
Yeah.
not a dedicated card. Cool. Betty, thank you for coordinating this. Cool. Let's see, where are we? Director's report.
Director-
That's
yeah.
an
Director's
editorial
report.
comment.
I know, it's been a crazy 3 weeks. My director's report, is just, is pretty slim. I would say really all I have to report is that, I do get a lot of really good feedback on what I write in the newsletter, and it makes me happy. People call, that don't come into this center and tell me that they like it, and that because of what they read, they're inclined to come in someday. And I've met some folks that do come in and they join, and they told me it's because that they enjoy what I write. So I'm glad that seems to be resonating with people. I think a lot of other stuff that I have going on is covered other places in the agenda. Fred, I apologize,
No.
everybody. And one thing just for everybody to note too, I am taking some more Mondays off during the month of August just to enjoy this beautiful place where we live, and I have some vacation time, so I'm going to use it.
And you're going to take your day off on your birthday.
Yes, and Monday is my birthday is next Monday, so that works out with my Mondays off plan.
You just need to
Julie-
advise the public that cannon fire is in your honor that day.
But what did you say, Fred?
Cannon fire is in your honor that day.
Thank you. This should be, but Julie has taken some Fridays off too.
Good.
So we're trying to manage that. And like I said, I am working with several other city departments as well as the state Department of Mental Health. I'll be getting in touch with those folks as soon as we get off of this meeting about a senior who is very high need. And he's.
You want
and
to do
he-
an after action plan on that?
I'm sorry, what, Fred?
I say, would you like to do an after action plan on this whole episode as a way of putting a bow on it? And you perhaps
Yeah, getting everybody together and kind of doing that, how we all do kind of
Yeah.
critique. I
Yeah.
think so, because there are several places where where this individual is being failed by the system.
Yes,
And that after action plan, if it could loop in somebody from Leahy, the appropriate person, that would be great, because in my opinion, Leahy's playing a big part in who's failing him. He's just such a handful, and a lot of people really recoil and turn away, and I have the ability,
I would be
better
pleased
or
to
worse,
attend
to see
that.
past some of the things that are difficult about him. So we have a pretty good rapport, but
If you pull that together, I'd be pleased to attend that.
okay.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
That's a great idea, Fred. Thank you. So yeah, that's my slim director's report for this meeting. Sorry, you
Yeah,
guys.
oh, no, that's plenty. Let's see, any questions for Elise before we move on? Fine. New business, board game activity run by seniors. Again, I will forward that to the next meeting because Barry is not here. An idea that Elise had in conversation with me, and that is to take advantage actually of the delays that DPW is facing as a result of supply chain issues and delayed organization of funding for projects that have been on the queue for a long period of time, but the question of funding, escalation of prices, and for a whole host of things haven't happened. And specifically, referring to the roof, which if you look at ceiling tiles, it explains itself that it's the original roof from when the building was built some 25 years ago, and has been patched beyond its natural useful life. And so the plan is for a thorough removal of all the air handlers on the roof and a replacement of the roof, which then ties into all kinds of other interior work that would follow it once the building stops leaking. But it was her idea that we might take advantage of some delay and perhaps fold in other projects that would take advantage of the fact that we have workmen planned to come and the new roof, specifically to use this building as a demonstration project for making it green as possible, possibly with the installation of solar panels on the roof, in that basically the sun reaches that building every day. There's nothing to obstruct the sun on it. Those panels might be mounted high enough, as they do these days on agricultural land, so that the air handlers could be employed beneath the solar panels, which then takes them out of direct sunlight, which is actually advantageous for their performance. Also to see if perhaps there might be some grant funding to replace the windows that were, when put in, were never vetted for their utility, for except perhaps to keep the rain out. And they, by design, were close to obsolete when they were put in, which made them economically attractive. But in terms of maintenance of them, we are now running up against a total absence of replacement parts. People use suction equipment in order to open and close the windows because they simply won't perform as they're designed to do. But also, I'm sure they must leak and are not energy efficient. Well, I went to see Michael Hale about this before anybody, just to see if this was something that was of interest to him, so that in my thinking for grant writing and whatnot, is this something that DPW directly would want to do, or through the mayor's office, would this be an independent approach and have outside people coming in? Michael Hale thinks this is an excellent idea, particularly because it's a freestanding building and could be used as a demonstration project, particularly for people who were drawn to the city for the 400th, for example, to see that this building, as useful as it is, also is self-sustaining, and in fact may actually be a profit maker with excess electricity running through the system back into the grid. So there are multiple places where fundraising or grant writing, rather, by the city might prove useful. It's not something I've done any research on, and I also have not been to see the mayor to get his take on the reasonableness and the usefulness of doing this project in one of his buildings. So, but before I do that, I wanted to run it all by you to see if you have any objection to Elise and I moving forward on this. And that, Val, I hope you will also express your opinion as well.
Yeah, I support it completely. I think that's a great idea. I think if you can batch projects together, it makes a lot of sense.
Because we already have the labor force with the roof, and that's a major expense that would be there one way or the other. Suzanne, any thoughts on this?
I think it's a great idea.
Good.
You know, and it would be like, you know, an example for the rest of the city.
That's what I'm- Betty?
I think it's a great idea. I think certainly if we could get grant money and move forward and make it a green building,
Yeah,
would be great.
yeah. Michael seemed to think that Eversource in particular would be real pleased to show a hand in this. And also there's I was wondering about working. Let me finish around and then I'll say my thought. Rosalie, any thoughts?
I think it's an awesome, great idea.
Good. Susan?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. And I would, we've got all those, what is it, Mass Saves, has all those rebates for homeowners. Maybe there's something you could work out with them.
Well, also the city has a Clean Energy Commission as well. And
Right.
I've attended several of their meetings via Zoom. And they don't, at the moment, to the best of my knowledge, have a project in hand on this anything like this. That they do a lot of research and promotion for doing these things, but they don't actually have a building or a plan like that on their project. One of their members is a neighbor of mine who has put in a thermal cell heat pump next to his house, which is taking advantage of the 50-degree mean temperature of bedrock as being the energy source to run the HVAC system in his house. And it's the same process around here as drilling a well. In places where it's land, they dig a great trench and you put a serpentine pipe in there, and it's drawing temperature from at least below ground, which is cooler than above. But in Gloucester, it would be down into bedrock. And I floated that by Michael Hale, who looked astonished that I would ask for such a thing. But in fact, he doesn't think it would take a lot of land to be able to do it. You might be even to take a part of the parking lot, sink it, and then put the tar back on the top of it, which would mean that the electricity required for running the HVAC would be cut by 2/3
Wow.
of what we are doing. So which further heightens the profit of our solar collectors going back into the grid. So we have now then in Gloucester, we have the two remaining turbines and a solar collector on a public building that is deferring city utility costs. I think it'd really be cool.
And yeah, and I think that the seniors care about climate change. They care about seeing this stuff. When you look at the folks who are from the Cape Ann Climate Coalition, you look at the age of a lot of the folks that are expressing deep concern about climate change and what we can all do as individuals and as groups to be more green and be more aware of being green. Our demographic cares, and I think a project like this could speak to those people that care deeply about it and get enough people excited that not only does it have all the benefits that you just mentioned, Fred, but also to just get again, there's always that overriding need to get more people into this building, to get some younger seniors to start to feel like this is their place too. And I think an exciting project like that could go a long way towards that end as well. So.
Yes, and again, we have roughly those 4,000 seniors who are not utilizing our facility, and a project like this might just draw them in.
Yep.
Or people who have professional or academic expertise in the area that we don't even know about.
Right.
People who are out there.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll move on that. Elise and I will move on that. Again, this is Elise's idea. This is
Good
Elise's
job.
idea.
But if we can get some legs under it, then that
Yeah,
would be really
exactly.
exciting. So.
Wonderful. Okay. Let's see. Further on the building facility, I had a meeting with Mike Hale. He apologized that the convection ovens and the standard range are not yet connected, but I hope that will be happening soon. They again will be coordinating that with Elise in order to schedule that. But that's high on his list. The whiteboard in the lobby. I didn't get much of an answer from him. Whose job is this now? Is the board actually up
board is up and it
So-
looks great,
so
but it doesn't have any, it's not displaying anything. So
But DBW has done their job, right?
DPW has done their job. Yep,
Okay, so my focus now should be on IT.
IT, exactly. Ryan said, and this, became frustrated with Ryan. I have great respect for Ryan. I think he does a great job. When I said, okay, the whiteboard's up, we need whatever the gizmo, is that you attach to it to make it a whiteboard from being a TV. Because he had said there was some kind of device to attach to it to make it do what we want it to do.
Yes.
And I said, we're ready for that. And he said, well, it's gonna need a strong Wi-Fi signal. And at that point, I wanted to jump through the phone and say, Ryan, we don't have strong Wi-Fi down here because of all this stuff that we need done. The roof needs to be fixed so that the wiring, it all just this domino of all this other stuff that needs to be done. And so I'll have another conversation with him to see if there's any kind of patch fix to boost a signal from
Yep.
somewhere strong enough to get that thing working.
Yes.
But I mean, it was his suggestion that we go that route of doing that thing, and he suggested that the device that attaches to it, that'll make it act as an electronic whiteboard. So for him to say, well, now the problem is that there's not a Wi-Fi signal, I was just like a little bit exasperated with that. But I'll talk to him again. He's a solution-oriented guy.
Or
so-
this is invisible everyday. Why is the screen blank? We have terrible Wi-Fi in this building. We can use that to our advantage. Again, it's one more thing that we can take advantage by delay.
Right.
Is to show the reasonableness of focusing the attention on a city-owned building that ought to be utilized more by the public.
Yeah.
We are a senior center, yes, but also with the 400s coming up. The fact is that I hope with additional custodial care, we'll be open in the evenings for lectures, for demonstrations, for all kinds of stuff in the city-owned building. And this is one more reason to put a spotlight on us, that we have this electronic board that's supposed to be informational to inform people on what's happening, and we can't use it because our Wi-Fi is terrible. When their Wi-Fi at home is better than what we have in Rose Baker Senior Center.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
bad. Yeah.
If there's a pile, there must be a pony. This is sort of my mindset on stuff like this.
If there's a pile, there must be what?
A pony.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is a good thing. At least that it's identified now that this is an IT project.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll include that in my conversation with the mayor. Let's see. How are we doing with the changes due in the technology center?
It's just hit, there's been no motion on that. I mean, we're still waiting for a funding source. We still have no answer back from the Friends on what level of involvement, if any, they want to have in that project. So that's just kind of stalled. And I feel like right now I'm trying to pace my asks of the mayor's office. You know what I mean? For a long time, I don't know if there was much being asked for money wise. But so right now we've got the medical rides program. Then I wanted to go back to having the conversation again about using the van a little bit more for some things that make a great deal of sense. Not just using the van for the sake of using the van, but to do things that are really gonna have a positive impact on seniors' lives.
Yeah.
So that was gonna be the next ask. And then and then the tech center redesign. But again, that's another thing that kind of, even if we have the funding in place right now, it makes no sense to do any of those upgrades until we get the roof fixed, the wiring done, all of it. So
this is all falling under one.
it's all part of the pony. It's all part of that same pony that's living in a pile somewhere, right? Yeah.
Do we still have Gonzalo, or has he moved to Maine?
We still have him. Yep. He hasn't gone yet. But he keeps making me aware of the fact that it's imminent. So,
Okay. He is aware though that this is a standing item on every monthly agenda, and we discuss this issue.
I don't know, but I'll reach out to him. I haven't had a good check-in with Gonzalo in a bit, so I'll reach out to him.
I don't want
tomorrow.
I don't want him to be discouraged by the delay.
Right, and make sure that he's not discouraged, because it's a great project, and there are things that we could move forward with many aspects of the project, because they've become so self-sufficient down there with their own little Wi-Fi that just reaches that room.
Yep.
That even absent all of these other things, we could still move forward on parts of it. We could get the new furniture, get rid of the old machines, get laptops. We could do a lot of the stuff.
Well, we also might be able to piggyback on their Wi-Fi in order to power the
The whiteboard,
The
maybe it's a
whiteboard?
different floor though, and theirs is really just set up to just make sure that that room is well covered.
Would you ask Gonzalo if that would be possible?
Yeah, or Ryan, I think Ryan and Gonzalo both, so I'll get their heads together to see if that's part of the solution.
Yes, Val?
So as recently as yesterday, I met with Mayor Verga because the city council is looking for venues that are large enough for us to have a present meeting with members of the public that wish to attend, as well as maintaining hybrid.
Yep.
And I think you all know that the costs at City Hall are pretty high to do all the technology updates for Zoom technology and Wi-Fi and all that. So, so we actually talked about the cafeteria, the big room at Rose Baker yesterday, and I reminded him that that we were waiting for the technology upgrades there. So it's fresh on his mind, Fred. So the next time you talk to him, feel free. I'm always trying to plug for us and my role on this, Council on Aging Board when I am also talking to him as a member of the City Council. So anyway, it's on his mind, and he loves Rose Baker and he loves technology. So just pick the right moment to have coffee with him, and you might make some really good headway.
And
Awesome.
he has a file there of stuff that I've sent him, and in there is the paperwork for the shovel-ready project of the of the audiovisual upgrades.
Great.
He's got it in his office already.
Awesome. I have to go, everybody, but it's been great being on the call. All right.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Val. Thank you for
Keep up the good
everything.
work.
I know,
Board's
thank
really
you.
working hard. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye
Hi,
now.
Val.
Right, let's see, where are we with the AED machine to the fire department standards?
No update on that right now, Fred. I gotta go back and just see how last I left it. I think that stuff was all on back order too. Supply chain stuff, but I gotta go back and confirm. I know I did recently reach back out to Chief Smith and I got an update, but I think the update was no update. That
Okay.
just, yeah,
I will carry it forward to next month.
please.
Let's see, the condition, there were problems on the Cada bench. Has that resolved itself?
Not really. Not really. In a way, it's kind of gotten worse because of the high needs gentleman that we're trying to help. The fact that he quite often can't be let into the building, and he does want help badly. He keeps saying he wants help. So we're trying to serve him and bring him a cup of tea outside and get him see what we can do to try to work on that, on cracking that nut. But so in a way, the bench has kind of gotten even worse because now we have an additional homeless individual that tends to be out there.
All right, so
Here
you're
and there, but-
redefining the use of the bench.
I'm sorry, what?
You redefined the use of the bench, the usefulness of the bench.
The problem with that, and this is why it'd be great to always have a CADA representative on the board, is we've redefined the use of the bench, and it's a valid use to be able to give a place for us to serve people that can't be let in the building.
Yes,
It does still create a challenge because there are some individuals that don't want help and they just want to sit there and be belligerent and get drunk all day. And I'm working with PD to keep them just moved along.
yes.
Because that's a legitimate, so I've worked with PD enough to know that that's a legitimate request for me to call them and say, okay, he's been out there for however many hours, he's clearly drinking in public, can you please ask him to move along? That's the individual who's belligerent. Even when I go over to the store next door, the liquor store, they say, isn't there anything you can do about getting him off of that bench? Because he's just, and that's someone who doesn't want help. So I'm working on that. But I think in the meantime too, that if we even looking at it as redefining the use of the bench to be like an auxiliary outdoor space for people that are high needs and need human services assistance, which is legit, but it still takes the bench away from people that need the bench to wait for a bus, which is why the bench was put there. But we do have a senior, I had a senior that was here the other day, her bus wasn't coming until 4:30. And usually I am just hard and fast. It's a slippery slope. Once you start letting somebody stay in the building after we close, I think that's a slippery slope. So I'm loath to do that. But I looked outside at the bench was full. And I looked at this frail elder woman on a walker, and I couldn't say to her, go outside and wait for your bus. So, I mean, she stayed inside the building until the bus came at 4:30.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there might be, it's just a situation I think that needs to continue to have some thought given to it, to see how far we want to go down the road of redefining the use of that bench. Do we really want to redefine it to what it is now becoming? And if so, what do we do about the original need, which is to have a bench for people that want to wait for the bus?
Well, also, I'd be interested to know what Kata's intent is to supervise their own bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we mentioned it at the last meeting that Felicia kind of, I don't know if they look at it as their bench. I think it's a city bench that serves their transportation.
I
System.
remember something in her conversation saying that that there was a group though who were discussing about upgrading bench or bus waiting areas with cover and things like that. So just in their discussions, who do they expect will be policing their bus waiting kiosks?
Right.
Is that the city's job to do? Is it your job to do, or is it a bus driver's job to do?
That's a great question.
You know,
I mean, is it considered public property?
exactly.
Yeah,
So do the police need to be there more often? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is because
But whose bus is it? I
Problem.
mean, whose bench is it? Who actually owns the bench?
how do we get clarification on that? I guess I could write to DPW. I could write to Mark Cole, who's my DPW rep, who handles the grounds, not the building itself,
Yes,
but the grounds.
yes.
So I can, let me write to Mark Cole and see if he can clarify for me if that bench is ours.
Great. See, Susan, there was a discussion about the internet for low income. What you were going to mention that in the resource guide? Is that still a reasonable proposition?
Yeah, but we need to get more information on how people sign up for it and how they get what the income grants, limits are, because they have to qualify. And
Okay,
it seems to me, when I did the research before, it's quite a process, and getting answers out of Comcast is almost impossible. I mean, at one point they sent me to some guy in Virginia. He
Yeah.
didn't really know much about Massachusetts. So,
Yeah.
so it's, it'd be nice to include that, but if we're going to include it, there's got to be a way to find out what's required to qualify and what benefit they actually get.
at least, was there discussion with Julie maybe about this?
Ann Freeman has traditionally been the person to help people with stuff like that. It was prior to the announcement of the new program, because they've added another layer. It used to be just Internet Essentials, which in Ann's experience, it existed on paper, but they threw so many barriers up and so many hurdles to accessing it that it was just their intention, I think, was to make you throw your hands up and go, I can't take it. You know what I mean?
And yet they can claim that they offer.
Right. So now the question, now that they've added this newer layer on top of it, I need to take a fresh look at the interplay between the old Internet Essentials and the new program,
Okay.
to see if those barriers still exist, if it's still just getting heaps of, targeted bureaucracy to, strategic bureaucracy. So we need to take another look at that. So I'll talk to Ann about that tomorrow and see if I can get her doing a little more research on it.
If you think there's enough data for Susan, for it to be useful for Susan, might you ask and for this kind of a single page, we're gonna like a memo on what she knows about the program?
Yeah.
It might be easier if Anne would like, I could get together with her and we can try and figure it out together, because I've done some research on it, and my reaction was yours. It was just, and in the end, I think they get like $5, which, is better than nothing, but it's compared
Supposed to be
to,
30. 30 was the promise. 30 was the promise. When they
Yeah,
announced the
exactly.
program.
I'm moving on this because the promise was $30.
okay, well, when I finally got somebody to talk to me, they said it was 5. So maybe it's gone up. So, but I'm happy to help work with Anne if she would like, and see if we can get something, get it clarified, because if it's a benefit, they ought to get it, but.
Okay,
Anne would welcome that, I think, Susan. She's kind of been my she's been reluctant to be my point person on this. She doesn't love it. But I continue to just let her know that is social work. You're helping people stay connected, and that's,
Yes.
if they're very low income, it's part of
All the
social
more-
work. It's what you
all the
do.
more
So,
important.
so I think she'd welcome your assistance.
I can understand her reluctance. It was just so frustrating to get any answers at all, and
Rosalie, yes.
When we talked about this before, I thought Safathia even said that the seniors will get a discount. I called and they told me they have no discount for seniors. I said, well, that's, I heard that you do have discounts, and are you sure? He said, look, lady, we have no discounts for seniors. I said, okay. And that's what I got. They didn't
Yeah,
want to talk.
when
Yeah.
we negotiated the 1623 contract with Comcast, they did not include a low rate for seniors in the contract. They did it by a side letter. So that,
yeah, but they sent me a copy of the side letter, and and I asked them about it, and they said, well, you have to have an income qualification, and on that it did say $5, not 30.
yeah.
No, it's a waste
Yeah,
of time.
because the contract was quite some time ago. Yeah, no, this is a new initiative, and I picked it up in Falmouth Mass Enterprise newspaper as
The
being
ACP.
something that they're working hard to instill. Yes, Suzanne?
Has anyone talked to the Cable Advisory Board?
No, that's the first thought.
It's a federal program. It's not specific. It's not anything to do with the negotiations that Gloucester had with them
Okay.
coming in here. It's a federal program now that everyone's supposed to be able to access, but supposed to be able to access and able to access is kind of what we're trying to gauge right now, how big that divide is. So
I just thought they might have some contact person.
maybe Suzanne.
Well,
Suzanne, do you know
I
people
did
on that?
talk to the,
Suzanne, do you know anybody on that commission?
No, I don't know how active they are.
Could you check that out in terms of whether they're a good resource?
Sure.
Thank you. Susan, you were going to say?
I was going to say that back when I was looking into this, about a year ago, I guess it is now.
Yeah.
I did contact them, and that's how I ended up with the side agreement.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was,
but they're not really involved with the federal program. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
yeah, Sal DiStefano is on that board. Yeah,
Yeah.
he negotiated for the city, and I was the alternate. And
Yeah,
I didn't say one word. Sal was fabulous.
well, that's who you had me contact. So
Yeah.
that's who I spoke with.
Yeah. Yes, Elise.
So I think in my mind, where it is a federal program, if there is a chasm between an intention to have seniors access it, and if the cable companies beyond Comcast, but all of them nationally, if they're all playing the same kinds of shenanigans, to me, I wonder if maybe this is a matter to bring to our federal level representatives, to bring to Congressman Moulton's office.
Yeah.
We, in the midst of COVID, when we were shut down, he had convened a Zoom meeting that he intended to just be a roundtable with a bunch of COA directors to ask us what kind of concerns we had. And that was one of the things I brought up in that roundtable, was that but back then I was talking about Internet Essentials, which was a different program, but still a Comcast program that was supposed to meet part of their requirements of like what they give to a community to be able to have a monopoly in that community. So now that it's a different federal program, the Affordable Connectivity Program, the ACP, if there are still, bureaucratic barriers to people accessing that, he'll remember, I think, me having mentioned that, and maybe it's something that needs to be kind of handled from more of a top down. And I don't usually go that route, because top down means big and cumbersome, and Lord knows if you're going to get the right person. But if this is a federal program, that might, it just occurs to me that it might be a phone call that I should make to Congressman Moulton's office
Yes.
and just see if he's got someone there that can.
Constituent services, yeah, because I think the funding for this is in the president's COVID recovery program, which is why nobody would have it before. You know, everything was $5 until the president's funding package was approved just after he was elected.
Right. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, so I'll look into that and reach out to that office and just see if there's anything. They have liaisons at all the different agencies, so
Yes.
maybe there's a liaison at the FCC that can point us to the right Comcast person, or who knows, but.
The last time I worked with Moulton's office, his contact person was terrific, and it's John Bell's niece. I can't remember her first name, but Bell is
Right.
her last name.
Right.
You remember her, Suzanne?
Yeah, I know her, but I can't think of her first name right
Neither
now
can I.
either.
She was terrific. Now,
Yeah,
she's
she's
so good, she's
great.
probably moved on by now, but Moulton's office, like Tierney before him, is well known for, you worked in it in Tierney's
Yeah,
office.
Yeah,
Really well known for constituent services. So that might be a phone call that's well worth.
And it's an election year.
Yeah, that too. That's nothing to do with it at all.
yeah,
Let's see. Let's see. I'll skip over other stuff which we touched on. The main entrance, Michael, I had a meeting with him a couple days ago. Michael is going to take the money for the new door out of his discretionary budget. It's too hard trying to get earmarked money these days. So it's kind of generous thing that he will do for us, in that he has a discretionary fund and the money in order to put the new door in and all of that. So it's going to happen. That's one of those projects that absolutely really is going to happen. Not until the fall, but he took my request seriously about wanting it in place and functioning before snow, because it's seeing people in a wheelchair and slippery and cold trying to get through our current door as being one of the major incentives to get this project done before winter comes. And he agrees with me. And because it's funding that's he already has in his hand, I really think we can count on that as being one of those things that's really going to happen. The money for the roof is not secure. At least in his last meeting with the powers that be, everybody agrees it's a good idea, but where the money is and whatnot is still not really clear.
do we know what the price tag is, Fred, for the roof?
Several $100,000.
Okay. I don't have that. I can donate it, but I don't have that.
You know, I'm going to have to sell a ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be about 350,000 was the original, but you know that's no longer the case. So I would presume it'll be a package in the vicinity of $500,000. He had a package of over $1 million that was all of it confirmed, affirmed, approved, and then out in the ether somewhere between administration changes. The mayor is wholly in favor of the project. He gets it.
Has to happen.
The mayor is not the bottleneck. He isn't, which gives me the privilege of talking with him about these things because he shares my concern, our concern.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Any specific items for the next agenda?
Fred, if I could just report on one other thing too that I think we kind of went past on the agenda. Is just that I believe at the last meeting that that you had requested that I speak with Ryan just to confirm, because we were all under the impression that that the funding for the wiring upgrade and the funding for the AV system upgrade,
Yes.
that was all included in some of Ryan's requests, that Ryan from IT, his request. And
Yeah.
I did speak to have that conversation with him, and that is the case. All of the whole project, and he considers it all the whole project, rewiring the building, getting the Pro AV system upgrade. He says he's rolled them into several funding requests that he's submitted that rest with the mayor's office. So I will continue to talk to the mayor's office about those.
Good.
And if we all just keep hammering home that same messaging, then you know, it's gotta
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. The proverbial dam will break at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
Betty.
ask just a quick question?
Sure.
So the roof, it's important for us to get the roof done because that all hinges on getting the upgrades to the electricity and the IT because the roof leaks and everything's getting wet. So
Yeah.
now we have an issue with trying to get the funding secured. Is
Yes,
that where we're at?
yes.
Okay.
And yet everybody who's in the in approval line seems to be in favor of the project. So, but it's beyond me. It's beyond me.
Frustrating.
You know,
Beyond the lease. If it's beyond the lease, anybody else want to contribute?
What do
Well-
the friends say about it? What do the friends say? Are they willing to help us?
they're not saying anything to us right now, Rosalie.
But we have asked them for the money.
For the roof, no, not specifically for the roof. No, but they, I think that their roots, way back in the day, their roots, traditionally, way back, they were, I think, heavily involved with capital improvement projects. That's why I asked what the price tag was, because I kind of mentally am wondering how much money they have and how much, but I don't think what they have, even if they handed over every cent that they have, that it would put a dent in it. It wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
But I've got to wonder maybe if we really get our fingers into the greening the building idea, maybe if Mass saves, if the city sees the utility and the fact that we could be making money off of solar panels up there, maybe as part of all of that, somebody says, well, of course, if we're gonna have solar panels, we need a new roof, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, so again, we're taking advantage of the delay. But it also
Frustrating,
strengthens the case for finally the wires to be finally woven together in order to get this project happen, because it will become so apparent that many fine projects are dependent on that roof getting done, just as Betty was outlining. Yeah. Also, Betty, thing that I've been loath to talk about, but there's bound to be the issue of mold.
oh God, yeah.
Excuse me?
I said there's bound to be an issue of mold, M-O-L-D.
Oh, okay.
Just,
And that's a whole nother problem.
well, it's an intractable one in many cases.
Are there companies that come in and just inspect for that?
Yes, I
Should
brought
we-
them into the library. Yes.
What kind of price tag is there to that, Fred?
It wasn't huge, but it is not something that we can do. It only would be DPW that would do that. Probably Mark Cole. No, I beg your pardon, Joe Lucido, I believe would do that. But you see, the city didn't own the library. So Building and Grounds Committee, we brought in people, they set in testers and they run for 72 hours, breathing the air and picking up the mold spores. Unfortunately, it was nowhere nearly as widely spread as we thought it was, but there was mold in the children's library. We isolated it and corrected the problem. Then we installed a new HVAC system in children's library, but we couldn't do that until we confirmed that the mold was no longer present.
I think, I don't know how to go about it, but I don't know how to go about it. I mean, they know we need the new roof already. So I don't know if DPW is the one that would have to get them to come in and see if there's mold. I could see DPW just saying, listen, we know you need the roof already, but I also think that quantifying the problem, defining the problem and knowing like how big is the scope of that problem. If every day that goes by, if we have a mold problem that's getting worse by the day and that's verging on being unsolvable, then maybe that's another thing to just to keep pushing it for the roof.
That's right.
But I don't know how to get that going to get that question answered.
I'm going to ask that the minutes skirt over this particular subject of mold, because it has not been identified. I think it is a potential of becoming a problem, but I do not know that there is mold up there. If I did know, I wouldn't be as complacent about it. But I really think it's only a matter of time.
Just because we don't know, I feel uncomfortable saying just because we don't know that we can't assume that it's not there. And
That's
it
right.
seems that if we have a leaky roof, maybe we should find out if we're in a building.
It has been investigated before and no mold was found, but that is not a recent development. But I bring it up to you now just because, frankly, with Betty here, we have to talk about that.
Right.
Because she understands the seriousness of that, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So the problem is
And
knowing,
you know, my next question would be, all right, so if we don't, I'm sorry, if we don't know if we have mold
yes,
and we go ahead and get a new roof put on,
yes,
it's, we're spinning our wheels and anyway, yeah, that's a whole nother,
yeah. But I do have these conversations with my, so,
So Fred, is it fair then? Do you think that you might broach the subject with Mike when you next speak with him
Yes.
to see if it's time to check again to see if we have mold?
that was going to be my next question of this.
Awesome.
Is that okay that I talk more publicly about the issue? Is that all right by all of you?
Yes,
Okay. I mean, for years, we never talked about the door because I didn't want to leave the impression with the general public that somehow the building was unsafe, when in fact the door was totally legal. The door is, as it is now, is totally legal and it is compliant with ADA. The problem is that it's not, in my estimation, compliant enough in order to allow for real world encounters. And we will be solving that problem. So it's now in the minutes and we can now talk about it as being something that we're addressing. And the mold issue is in a similar issue like that. That if we're in a position to actually correct the problem, we can talk about it.
yep.
Okay. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Fred.
Any other concerns that people might have before I ask for items for the next agenda? Susan, anything on your mind?
No,
Rosalie,
No, thank you.
Betty,
nope.
Suzanne,
No, I'll be talking to you, Elise, about the Schooner Festival, maybe lecture or whatever.
Yeah.
I've just got an email from Maritime Gloucester. I haven't read it yet,
Okay,
about coming up with the date before we get too close to Schooner Festival weekend.
okay. That sounds awesome, Suzanne. That'll be neat.
Elise, are you still planning a Schooner Festival luncheon?
Now, I can't throw together a party, and I think in what I've read from Suzanne and in her collaborating with the entities that are involved with that, they
Yeah.
like a nice breakfast, like a breakfast maybe, like a coffee and donuts and a couple captains maybe talking about the schooners or something.
Good, so
But it
we're gonna
wouldn't
do
be a
that.
luncheon. Yeah,
So we are going to do, but that's what Suzanne suggested to me. And
yeah.
so you're not at cross purposes. You're going to do a coffee with donuts and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think-
I'm donating the donuts.
Great.
Thanks, Suzanne. So
I'll
yeah,
come
if
and eat
that's,
one.
if that's what works for the people involved in
I'm
the
not
Schooner
allowed-
Festival, then
I'm not
we'll-
allowed to buy donuts.
we'll work around it. So that
Okay.
means our next big luncheon party will be a Halloween party, and boy, we'll do it up for that, so.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay. Anything before I call for a motion to adjourn? Thank you all. This has been a very productive meeting, as always.
Thank
Have
you
a motion,
all.
please, to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rosalie. Is there a second? Suzanne, great. And the
Yep.
time is 11:07. Thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you. Bye,
Everybody.
everybody.
bye.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.